Hey everyone, this is P4L, and in today's Transformers review, we'll be taking a look at Fans Toys FT-09 Tesla, their take on a masterpiece scale Perceptor. And you're probably asking yourselves, how are we already at FT-09 when Sever was FT-06? And that's because FT-07 and FT-08 are reserved for their Iron Dibots, Sludge, and Grimlock homages respectively. So they're coming out soon, so just hold on tight, but they wanted to keep all those numbers in succession. But yeah, so let's take a look at Tesla. First, starting off with packaging review as always. And as you can see, we're going to see this very nice Fans Toys box as we've seen before. I actually think the quality of the box itself has gotten better over the years, but the same design has held true. So you still get this nice artwork from Unicron WMD on the front. Just this nice boxing, very elegant and simple, and you get some nice detailed Tesla logo here. It looks like it's one solid color, but it actually has a lot of little technical blueprint kind of stuff going on. You might not be able to see that, but yeah, if you zoom in, you might be able to see it. In any case, taking a look at the side, you just get Tesla and FT-09 on both sides of the box. On the top, we get a nice little artwork of his alt mode, so his microscope mode. On the back is where you're going to get really the biggest bang for your buck as always. You're going to see a lot of actual images of the figure in both his alt mode and his robot mode, as well as a very large description of a kind of a bio of Tesla himself. They definitely did not skimp. On the bottom, another alt mode pick. But that's really about it. Nothing too crazy going on the box itself. But again, I think the quality of the boxes has gotten a lot better. And if you were lucky enough, you might have actually gotten some tissue paper for this guy wrapped around it when you got it out of the package. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up the box and see what he comes with. Alright, once you open up the box, you're going to get these two pieces. You're going to get the instruction manual as well as the bio card that we'll get into a little bit later. But what you're really interested in is this big styrofoam packaging, and you get this nice emblazoned molded Fans Toys logo on there. And I have a real love-hate relationship with styrofoam. I do like it because it's very G1, but the OCD in me really doesn't like how messy it tends to get. It does do a fantastic job keeping your figure safe, but yeah, it's also not environmentally friendly, and I feel like Autobots would be. In any case, you're just going to need to cut the tape on all four sides to open it up. Once you open it up, you do get a nice piece of plastic here to protect the finish of your Tesla. And you'll get the rest of him. So you'll get Tesla himself. See, look, white stuff. I don't like you. And you get a bunch of accessories as well. So you get these 4-piece blue pieces, which allow you to swap out the forearm and thigh pieces if you want to switch between cartoon and toon accuracy depending on your preference. That's nice that they included that. And you get 2 additional guns. So you get his larger gun, which is almost kind of like a shotgun-like gun or rifle-like gun. And then you get this small, tiny gun here. We're going to get into these a little bit later. But the first thing we're going to do is focus on Tesla himself. So let's go ahead and get into robot mode review. Alright, before we get into robot mode review, let's just go really quickly into the other items he comes with. His instruction booklet, which does a pretty good job of informing you how to transform this guy. One thing to note, and that I'll note again when we actually do the transformation, is that they skip this step where you have to rotate the head 180 degrees before you finish the transformation. But otherwise, pretty good idea of what everything does. It does show you the one way to the alt mode, the microscope mode, but there are also some fan modes and some quote-unquote hidden tank modes. The other thing that I showed off before was the stat card or bio card, whatever you want to call it. You get FT-09 Tesla, some Fans Toys information on the back. You do get a bio this time and I don't remember if they've always done it in English, but they have an English bio, which I think is just a repeat of the back of the box. And then you get the stats here. And I would imagine one of these 10s is for intelligence. But yeah, that's it for those kind of extras that he comes with. So let's go ahead and get into robot mode review by first starting off with a quick 360. And he looks really good, a really nice rendition of Perceptor. Looks like, again, as is Fans Toys MO, a really loyal rendition of the cartoon version of the figure. And I'll say that the blue that's on him now is more in line with the toy. The pieces that he comes with, which I'll show you how to install later, are kind of a grayish blue, and that's supposed to be more cartoon accurate, I think. I don't think this is really that accurate to the toy, because all the pictures I looked up, and from my recollection as a child, it was a little bit more tealish, and even my lights are not really reproducing the color now. It's more of almost like a purplish, what people are saying, a little bit more purplish or indigo-ish color than this kind of gray extra forearm pieces. I kind of like this better than the gray, but I'll show you guys how to swap that out a little bit later. Overall, for robot mode, again, really great. Nice use of paint apps. Very sparse paint apps, which is kind of Fans Toys MO. You do get some here on the legs, out here as well. Very subtle on the shoulders up here, inside the chest itself. Not much on the back except these two silver paint apps. But it does have some chrome on all over the place for these dials. Anywhere there's a dial, like on the cannon, the tip of the cannon or microscope, which also can extend, working knob here, the chest piece, and this little ab piece as well. The foot actually is die-cast. It's the only die-cast that I think I can find. It's the heel and the toe. But yeah, I think that's mostly it for the overall looks. Let's go into articulation real quick before we go into head sculpt. So the articulation for the shoulders is friction joint going all the way around. You can go all the way up like this, which is great, albeit a little funny looking. Here's a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows, again, great functionality, but a little bit weird in that you get kind of this weirdly shaped elbow if you use both. He does have a wrist swivel, which my wrists were upside down, and I'll explain that in a little bit. His hands, he does have a ball jointed thumb, ball joint at the base, and then each of the fingers are individual fingers. So you can see me moving the pinky, then the ring finger, then middle finger. But those are all one piece each, except for the pointer finger, which also has kind of the second joint here. And his pin, which is nice. So not as detailed as their, Dinobots or Diebots or their Quakewave, but still nice to have individual articulated fingers. He does have a waist swivel that can go all the way around. He does have flaps on his waist on the front and the side on each side that will allow more range of movement for his leg, which goes up about only that far, not a whole lot. Back this way. You can get a little bit more if you make use of the thigh swivel. And it's ratcheted both ways, this way as well as outwards. This is kind of like a softer, squeaky ratchet on going outwards. And again, you have a bit of a thigh swivel there. You do have a knee, ratcheted knee swivel, and then ratcheted knees going back. And then the ankles are probably one of the nicer parts of the articulation. It does come in quite a bit. It does create a gap there. It doesn't go out really much. And then just noticing, I wonder if my figure is kind of oddly assembled. But in any case, it can go down quite a bit. It can go even 90 degrees as long as you kind of fold up the heel and get around this. So if you wanted to go straight back, you're gonna run into this, but you can kind of tilt around and get it to point if you'd like. And as you can see, he has nice die-cast heel and toe, which is actually very reminiscent of MP10 or Masterpiece Optimus Prime, especially in the way it transforms later as well. And that's really it for robot mode articulation, except for the head, which is on a swivel and a hinge. And with that, let's go ahead and get into his face sculpt. So this is one of the areas of contention amongst fans. Some wanted this to be a little bit more, I guess, accurate, and others have shown examples of where this is pretty accurate. And again, it really varies with the animation. There's so much variation in animation. I think it does look a little bug-eyed / alien, but I've never really cared all that much as long as it's kind of in the ballpark with face sculpts. But nice yellow painted detail, and I think the helmet is a really good representation. He has kind of like that almost Trojan-like helmet there. But yeah, that's really it for robot mode. Let's lastly just go over the cannon, which has a lot of articulation, which is kind of different. We showed off the extension and retraction, but it's also on a bunch of hinges, so it can go up like this. There's a hinge at the base here, a hinge here, and it's tabbed in, so once you untab it, you get another piece here that rotates, and then another piece here, and another rotation going to there. So you get a lot of articulation with this this cannon. So you can actually move it to the other side if you want him to have it mounted on the right. And there's actually an indentation for the pieces here to allow it to sit pretty flat. I don't know what that squeaking noise is on my... Sorry about that. And I just know it's bothering me, so I'm guessing it's bothering you as well. So I apologize for that. But yeah, that's really it for robot mode, aside from the accessories. So we'll go ahead and talk about the two guns. So this one's kind of like a rifle, has a scope on it, a little slide, and ammo cartridge or clip. This one has just a pistol with a molded plastic, red plastic on the front and gray on the back, and I think a little bit of paint detail there. This one has silver paint and blue there, and both use the very MP-ish handles with the tabs on each side that correspond to the slots on either of the hands. And these are very secure, so you can actually tab it in without using the fingers, and it'll be pretty secure. And the same goes for the other side. But you probably don't believe me, so I'm going to show you. And then you can have Perceptor or Tesla all weaponed out and ready to go. Even extend the cannon just to make him look even more menacing. So really great robot mode. Let's go ahead and do some quick comparisons just for height, so you guys get an idea of how big this guy is. The ubiquitous and also very much required comparison with MP10. So it comes up to about his shoulder, not quite his shoulder, but pretty close. And then for a Carbot Streak, just because he's my favorite of the Datsun brothers. And that comes up to about Tesla's elbow, bicep, whatever you want to call it. Alright. So with that, let's go ahead and get from robot to alt transformation. Alright, so robot to all transformation is pretty simple. You can probably figure most of it out without the instructions, but there are a couple things that you're going to need to be aware of. So before I get started, one thing, my figure is actually misassembled with the wrong right wrist piece. So I'm going to have show you how to transform this incorrectly, but I'll show you the correct way on this side. So the first thing you want to do is open up the hand, make sure that the thumb is rotated down, like so. Close up the fingers, and really you're just going to rotate that straight in, like that. And close up the fist, the forearm. This side, because mine's misassembled and I can't even fix it on my own, I actually have to open that up, rotate my fist around 180 degrees. So if you can't get your Tesla to transform without rotating the fist 180 degrees, you actually have a misassembled one, so contact your retailer and get a replacement part for that. Okay? If you have both of them that you have to rotate 180 degrees, then you can just swap the wrist parts out. But you'll see when I push this in, it has some clearance issues, and then it's really not going to want to come out without disassembling the forearm. But I'll do that for you guys because I love you. So, next up is we'll deal with the cannon. So you're going to want to untab the cannon and just really get it out of the way for the rest of the transformation. That will allow you to untab the shoulders like that. And then you can pull back on the entire upper body, back body. That'll open up this cavity here. You're going to want to fold down this top panel like so. And then before you go too far, this is where you rotate the head 180 degrees that I mentioned before. If you don't do that, you're going to have way more trouble. Go ahead and rotate the head back into that cavity using this like neck panel. And this neck panel is where things get a little bit dicey as far as clearances go, where people were having problems when they didn't rotate it. But you're going to want to rotate the arms all the way up like this. And you're going to want to rotate the shoulders in, and you're going to need to get this neck panel right into like this corner here. So you're going to rotate this in, and then like so. You'll hear it kind of snap into place. Same thing, rotate that in, and then rotate that, and that kind of snaps into place. From here, you're going to close up this back, and you make use of these tabs here to go into these slots. You might have to do a little bit of finagling to get everything kind of situated like that. Just get it started, and then you can just press firmly to close it. And you just want to make sure that the shoulders are square, and you rotate these handles outward. From here, you're going to actually bring up the microscope and flip it around like this to the front, and making use of these two peg holes on each of the forearms. You're going to want to just make use of these pegs on either side. And then one thing they tell you to do is basically try to get this part kind of level with the ground. It doesn't have to be perfectly level, but just make sure you do that. And if you're having trouble, it's because you need to slide this piece up. That'll give you a little bit of the extra length that you need to get that tabbed in correctly. Okay, the other parts of the upper body, just bring this ab piece down and then the chest piece down, and you have the microscope for the most part on the top done. The lower body is also pretty simple. One of the things that I like to do is actually fold up these flaps ahead of time, because you're going to make use of these small tabs on either side to go into corresponding spots in the inner thigh. So just bring out the leg about 45 degrees, rotate it around, and then up so it's level, and then just tab that in. Same thing on this side. Bring it out about 45 degrees, come back around, and then tab that in here. Alright, Alright, so next is the lower leg. What we'll do first is go ahead and collapse the toe and the heel. And like I said, it's very reminiscent of MP10. It collapses in on itself. Then the back of the leg actually opens up like so. You'll see these treads in here. I'm going to fold that out. And you'll see a tiny wheel in the front. You'll rotate that out if you can grab it. And rotate that all the way forward. Then close up this flap. And then close up that panel. Lastly, you're going to want to rotate 90 degrees. And making use of this tab in the slot here, rotate that 90 degrees in like so. And the one last small piece that I always forget to do is take these front shin panels, which are very Quakewave reminiscent, and just rotate them down on that pin. Very subtle. That's why I probably miss it all the time. So the same thing on the other side. We're going to collapse the toe and the heel. Open this up. Rotate that out. Rotate this wheel out. Close up this panel, and when you close the panel, get it close to this side here where the pin is. Otherwise, you could stress or break something on that side. So just be careful of that. Oops, and then close up the leg like that. Rotate 90 degrees, and then rotate that in. And again, the little shin pieces, which are really tight. I often have to use a spudger to get it started at least. There we go. And then last but not least, you're going to come around to his butt and rotate this little wheel out. And with that, we have Tesla in alt mode, at least the official alt mode. And while it's very basic, very much you can see is a robot with his arms up and legs splayed out. Very G1 accurate and loyal. I wish they'd done a little bit more. It was kind of cool because if you look through this lens itself and make use of this knob, you can actually see through it. I don't know, I don't remember if this is how it's supposed to be. I haven't been in a biology or chemistry class in quite a long time. But yeah, biology more than chemistry. But the image is actually flipped, so I think the lens is actually reversed somewhere. And I haven't tried to go ahead and open and fix it or anything like that, but it's actually kind of cool that it sort of operates as a microscope. But yeah, very basic. It rolls decently well. I don't know if it's rolling more than it is sliding, but the wheels themselves move pretty well. Others have been using this this as an opportunity to do a fan mode, but before we do that, I don't know. I didn't see the instructions. I'm trying to think if there's any kind of storage for these weapons anywhere. No. Well, there's the peg hole here, and you might be able to... Oh, that kind of works. I don't think that's the intended design, but... let's see... Maybe... Here? Yeah! Pretty good! Weapon storage! That's not official, but you can use that and give me credit. Make sure, if you use this, to give me credit on Facebook or something like that, okay? Anyway, let's get out of that. Stop goofing around and actually go into kind of a fan mode or tank mode. So there's actually a tank mode that you can kind of make on your own. And actually there's a couple of them. The reason why some people think that this was an intended like secret third mode was that you need to rotate this around and make use of this other tab on the other side of the lower leg, and otherwise that would be useless. It has no other intended usage. But if you use it like that and untab the skirt pieces, flip that up, flip that up if you can reach in there. Spud your time. You can rotate this down like so. And this is a very accurate representation of that G1 tank mode. Still has the arms, even this mode itself with the angle like this is very G1. The hips, at least on mine, aren't that tight, so sometimes it flops down. It would have been nice to have just kind of some random tab that would allow you to peg this in like that. But it's cool that you can still make it. A lot of other people were doing some other renditions of this by flipping the waist around, and then bringing this to the other side, and then using these forearm pieces, which have a little bit of detail in as extra missile pod bays or something like that. But you can have fun with it. But to get it back into the most loyal G1 mode is like so, how I first explained. And let's go ahead and get back into robot mode from this kind of droopy tank mode. Let's go ahead and bring the legs back around so that at least they're facing forward, the upper thighs are facing forward. We can start dealing with them. First thing we'll do is go ahead and flip these shins up, because I'm going to forget about them if I don't do it now. Then we're going to open up the back of the legs on each side. Open up these flaps. Again, try to be careful as to not stretch the plastic by pulling in from closer to the pin. Rotate the wheels in on each side. Rotate the treads in. And then you're going to close these up. Like so. Alright. Then you can open up the toes and heels. Unpeg the legs from the thighs, rotate 90 degrees, and then bring the legs down. Nice tight squeaky joints. Put up the butt wheel, whatever you want to call it. The upper body, let's go ahead and pull this microscope down and out of the way for now. Flip both of these up. And there's also a molded piece here, section for an Autobot logo. If you want to throw that on, I'll be doing that shortly. From here, you're going to want to pull back on this top back section again to free up those tabs. And then be careful and pull out the shoulders joints. Rotate them a little bit more than 90 degrees, because you're going to need to use them to actually hold the upper body in place. Bring the head out, rotate 180 degrees. Fold out this panel. And then you're going to want to rotate this in. You're going to have this upper body top piece go underneath these little pieces here, and then tab in the shoulders, and that will secure everything in place. My one tab here isn't as tight as I'd like it to be. It comes off quite a bit. The other one is not as bad, but yeah. Deal with that. Get the hands open. Rotate out the fist. This is the good hand, so it should rotate out, hopefully. Come on. Work for me. Alright, I might have to cut away to do that because I don't want to bother you guys. Go ahead and rotate this shoulder cannon into place, and then you can tab that in. Make sure this is rotated down, or shifted down, not rotated. And this will just sit into place there. Let's give this hand one more chance. Maybe there we go. That's supposed to rotate out and close this. And again, my other hand is screwy, so I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm actually going to show you how to replace the parts on this guy. So first things first, let's go ahead and deal with the forearm, just because I want to actually get my fist down. The forearm's really easy. Just remove these 3 screws. And it'll come apart into like 4 pieces. This little flap, the knob. If I open this up just a little bit more. There we go. You're going to need to reuse these screws, so get those all the way out. And then this piece you're going to have to pull off the wrist. Alright, so you're going to save this, you're going to reuse this. And then one last piece that you're going to need is the knob. And that's held on with a screw as well. Just one small Phillips head. Screw that. Pull that off like so. And then you can get rid of these pieces. Let's bring in, this is for the other arm, so let's just put that off to the side. So this is for the right arm. Again, the same 4 pieces. First thing you'll do is reattach the knob. And then you're gonna slot this into the forearm. There is a specific orientation. It's gonna be hard to actually tell just by looking at it. The handle has to be further forward. However, you'll know because if you do it the other way, it won't sit in. Because again, it's offset, not centered. Take the wrist and plug that in. Oh, nope, that's the wrong way. Plug it in this way. You want to have this flat side towards the bottom. So once again, I will attempt to put this on. Like so. There we go. And this is what it will look like once it's done. With my lighting, it's very subtle, but it is definitely noticeable, the difference. Or even closer comparison. Very different. Much more gray, much more sort of indigo. So give me a second and I'll reassemble this and then do the other arm, and then I'll show you how to do the legs as well. Alright, we're back, and as you can see, I did do the other arm and one thigh already, so we can go straight into final thoughts after we're doing this one. And I actually went ahead and took out 4 of the 5 screws already, just so you don't have to watch me do that. But yeah, very simple. Just take out these 5 screws here. And then when you open up the leg, just be a little bit careful because there's a little ratchet piece that you want to not lose, or you will be very sad. So just open that up. And the ratchet piece goes in here. It's a little gray piece. I should have flipped it the other way. But let me flip that out. So this is the little ratchet piece that you're going to need to reuse. So make sure not to lose that. Go ahead and take off the other piece of the thigh. And to get off this, there's 3 pieces. You can get rid of this for now. To get this off, this last piece off, you're going to run into this tab. So just rotate it one way to get it off of the peg. Bring in the other thigh, again consisting of 3 pieces. This front piece, the outer piece, and the inner piece. Go ahead and plug this back on and rotate it to hold it into place. That way it won't fall off out on you. this piece, take that little ratchet piece, and you'll see that it's molded to fit in here. So once you get that situated in place, you'll have the little ratchet tooth on the bottom. Sorry, I could probably zoom in there, but I'm not going to bother doing that. But yeah, you just need to get that. It'll be very apparent. It's like a puzzle piece. You'll know which way it's supposed to go in. Once you do that, the tricky part is getting all this back onto the leg. So you're going to want to do... Oop, actually you should start with this piece. So you can see the mushroom peg go into that slot here, the ratchet piece there. And again, making use of this tab is really useful, so if you have it rotate in place, this piece just absolutely will not come off. So you won't have to worry about that. Then just sandwich the two pieces together. And before you actually screw it in, just make sure that the ratchet's working. And then you can rotate the thigh to gain access to these screw holes. So pretty simple installation. You just have to be careful. One of the other things is whenever you work with such tiny screws, just make sure you don't lose them. All of them are also the same size, so you shouldn't have to keep track of them. The second thing is these pieces aren't pre-threaded, so just be very meticulous when you do that the first time so that you don't strip it, and make sure you use a good sized screwdriver that will ensure that you don't strip these screws, because that'll make you exceptionally sad if you strip these screws and you can't get them on or off anymore. So I'm just gonna do that for now so that we can finish off the review, and then we can and I'll just finish off installing them off camera. But yeah, here is the cartoon colored one parts. Again, a very cool figure. I do like it. I do think it is a little bit weaker than the rest of the figures that we've come to expect from Fans Toys. Maybe it's just because of the fact that it's a very basic toy and that is homaging, so that the transformation is very simple. It is cool that it does allow you to do those 3 different modes, robot and the microscope and the tank, as well as a couple other variations on that. And the posability is really great. Great ankles, great range of motion with the elbows and knees and shoulders and waist. So you're going to get a lot of posability. Overall, I think the aesthetic's really good. He doesn't look overly like heroic. He still looks, he doesn't have like an overly large chest or arms or anything like that to make him look too unlike a scientist. So I think they did a great job with Tesla. While I don't love the character himself, I don't think they could have done much better with this figure. Except maybe making sure that the lens actually was the correct way so that you can actually use it as a microscope. But otherwise, it's a really good quality figure. Nice, great hard plastics as you've come to expect from Fans Toys. A little bit lighter on the accessories with the 2 guns. It would have been nice to maybe have more of an homage with the pieces that came out, like some of their other figures. But overall, for a lower price figure, for a masterpiece, third party, it's still a pretty good deal, especially with all the extra color parts that you get. So if you do like Perceptor and he's somebody that you've been waiting for, I definitely would recommend him. If you're a Fans Toys fan, which most people I think are, definitely get him. Otherwise, that you may want to think about whether it really does fit into your masterpiece collection or not. In terms of overall scale, we showed it earlier, he's a really good match. But yeah, overall, I think that's it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share. if you want to pick this guy up and add it to your collection, you can go ahead and click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below as well. And these guys are in stock, should be shipping immediately. But yeah, I think that's it for today, everyone. Have a good one.